Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, why the central bank expects government borrowing to be significant in the upcoming budget. Fire victims salvage what they can following Sunday's blaze at Balfour Avenue. Plus, our Jillian Gray takes a closer look at government's recent purchase of the Grand Bahama International Airport. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, the next few months will be critical for the country's economy, according to Central Bank Governor John Roll. Kyle Joaquin tells us why.
What is important is to manage a continuous transition through the present months and into the third and fourth quarter.
During the first quarter of 2021, the Bahamas remains under the constraints of the COVID-19 pandemic, with a significant weakness in tourism, decreased spending among Bahamian households, and increased strain on public finances. And as the Ministry of Finance is in the process of working on the upcoming budget, the question is, how much will the government have to borrow? According to Roll, based on projections, that number will be significant.
From a financing point of view, the government will have still significant needs. And I'm not basing this upon anything that I've seen within the preparation of the government. It's just the reality. The government will continue to have some important financing needs.
Anticipated borrowing was something we asked State Minister for Finance Kwesi Thompson about last week. However, he shied away from it.
I'm not going to sort of get into the details of the budget until we reach that stage.
There have also been concerns about a potential increase in taxes to help keep the economy afloat. According to Roll, there is no policy advice to increase taxes at this time.
We need to be thinking beyond the present when we talk about rebuilding the public finances. So there is no advice being given to government or strong advice being given to governments globally that they should be raising taxes in the middle of a pandemic to address the cause of the pandemic.
While delivering the central bank's report for the first quarter of 2021, Roll says the good news is that government still has some wiggle room when it comes to its reserves. However, he says the full impact of the pandemic on the country's economy is still yet to be realized. For example, banks are seeing an increase in delinquencies, a 50% drop in people applying for loans, and more loan applications being denied.
The common reasons for unsuccessful loan requests continue to be assessments of already high debt levels or insufficient earnings relative to employment or full versus underemployment being comfort for banks. Banks also refuse applicants who were considered to lack sufficient security or collateral backing for new debt.
Now, Roll says, of course, a big part of the economic rebound will have to do with vaccinations. Reporting for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, the numbers are in, and it appears the Bahamas is headed deeper into the third wave of COVID-19, according to opposition leader Philip Davis, who says the Minnis administration dropped the ball. Jasmine Brown has that.
Davis says the fact of the matter is the Bahamas is now in the throes of a third wave, something he says could have been avoidable if the Minnis administration had properly led the charge.
There's no doubt that this government is continually dropping the ball.
The Bahamas is in the midst of what health officials have determined is a third wave of COVID-19 infections. There has been a significant uptick in new cases in recent weeks. The Bahamas recorded more than 1,200 new cases of COVID-19 in April, nearly double the number confirmed in March.
Hundreds of cases turn into thousands. And now we are having thousands turning into more thousands because they did not heed our warning in June.
Despite the recent surge in numbers, Minister of Health Wernwood Wells and Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis insist there is no need to increase restrictions and have instead called for greater adherence to and enforcement of the measures already in place. But Davis maintains there is inadequate testing and contact tracing.
This is what we have. This is the result of all these failed efforts on the part of this government to put in place the proper protocols. It's one thing to talk about, yes, we are testing, but you have to have a plan about testing. And you have to understand what you're testing. When you talk, yes, we are contact tracing, but are you contact tracing? when many persons are calling to say that you're not even contacting them.
The Bahamas remains under a state of emergency, which was implemented back in March 2020 and empowers the competent authority, the Prime Minister, to implement various measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. Under various emergency orders, the Bahamas was placed under 24-hour lockdowns and curfews. Many of those measures were relaxed after the country withstood its second wave of COVID cases late last year. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Retired Supreme Court Justice Keith Thompson says he's committed to operating the Freedom of Information Commission free from political influence. Berthany McDermott reports.
Moments after officially receiving his instruments of appointment for his new role as Information Commissioner, retired Supreme Court Justice Keith Thompson affirmed his commitment to not allow politics to influence the Commission's work.
This office is not about partisan politics. This office is about seeking to give information.
In the run-up to the 2017 general election, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis campaigned on transparency and accountability, promising legislation to stamp out corruption and improve public access to information. On Sunday, Attorney General Carl Bethel described the Freedom of Information Act as a cornerstone of modern democracy.
This is an historic day in the life of the people and the government of the Bahamas, of which I am delighted to be a part. We are excited about the prospects of the Freedom of Information Office and the democratic process that it represents.
On Sunday, the AG also announced the Freedom of Information Office opened Monday after a number of delays. During Sunday's conference, he noted that it will take another 6 months before the office begins providing services. However, today he says he's aiming for a second quarter start. Meantime, the newly minted Information Commissioner says the first order of business is an assessment.
The plan is, as I said, we go in, we make an assessment as to where we're at based on the work that has been done from 2018, and then we move from there with a view to trying to establish the office to a point where we can begin to serve the public.
Now, Thompson stressed that work to get the commission up and running won't happen overnight. He said he, along with other members of the commission, will first have to go through training. The FOIA was passed under the Ingram administration. However, the Christie administration decided the act needed extensive changes. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
And House Speaker Halson Moultrie announcing in the House of Assembly this morning that all issues related to recent disagreements have been resolved. His comments came days after he accused the executive of disrespecting his authority. Moultrie says he had a discussion with Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis and Acting Leader of Government Business in the House, Frankie Campbell, this morning.
Speaker, this morning, all issues relating to any disagreements have been resolved.
The Speaker did not provide any other details. Well, temperatures are heating up. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the details.
Thanks, Christina. I'm meteorologist Greg Thompson with your first look at weather. Very warm evening on the outside of our studios right now with temperatures in mid to upper 70s. 77 is our current temperature. We'll call it breezy and warm. Winds are out of the south, bringing in those warm temperatures at 10 knots, and your feels like temperature also in the mid to upper 70s. Satellite view around the area, nothing much to talk about. Very strong high pressure remains in charge of our weather, generating a south to southeasterly flow across the area, bringing in those warm temperatures. Lack of clouds and precipitation will be the trend for the rest of the evening. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, Grand Bahama residents have mixed views on the sale of the airport on that island, and fire victims try to put the pieces back together. Stay with us.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Burnt trees, charred vehicles, and yards of debris is all that's left in the aftermath of Sunday's afternoon's blaze that ripped through 6 homes and left 4 homes in need of repairs. Our Giorgio Bain has more.
A community comes together here on Jenny Street following Sunday's blaze where 6 homes were destroyed. But families say that there was no time to save anything. So many of them just came out here today to see exactly what they could salvage. We met Thomas Daxon sifting through his toolbox, hoping to salvage badly burnt tools that he now needs to restart his life. He also came back for a piggy bank, hoping that the coins inside are still salvageable. He lost his home of almost 20 years, his fishing boat that helped him to provide for his family, and his gardening tools that he used for his second job.
All the clothes I had gone, the boat, gone and so forth,
73-year-old Andrew Griffin sat on a bucket outside of what's left of his family home. While he lost everything in the fire, he's grateful that his elderly mother, who is now in hospital, wasn't badly injured.
I was picking up some food for a neighbor house, and she come in the house and tell me it's fire. And I look outside and I see a big blaze over there. So I call the fire truck. But after that, I just, my mind went to her place.
While there were no human lives lost, several dogs were not as fortunate, such as this Rockwilder that we understand was affectionately called Brownie. She was pregnant and unable to break free of her chain when the fire started. Thomas Daxon also lost a furry friend.
I wasn't paying no attention. I went in the house, she went after me. And I went out, she didn't come in. Yeah, she was turning back to Philly. And I wasn't paying no attention.
This eyewitness returned to the scene this morning after he recorded the beginning of the blaze yesterday. He was amazed by the extent of the damage that the fire left behind.
When I ride past, I just noticed it's in them trees. It started in the back of this yard, and it started to blaze. The way the heat was so high, it just started to run. Sometimes they ride around the block, It didn't even make it that far yet. So I just see the neighbors start running up in the back of the yard and stuff. But I don't know, it happened so fast. And then the breeze was blowing yesterday, it ran it fast.
According to Daxon, residents in the area complained about the yard where the fire was started, but nothing ever came out of those complaints. The residents believe more could have been done to save their homes.
But the fire trucks, first of all, in the 21st century, they was using bucket of water to out the lamp pole, and then one of the trucks came and break down. 2 trucks came, and one had to go back for more water, went back for water and came back again, and then, they could have saved this house. They could have saved at least this, and that home there. And the ones over there.
The cleanup process is underway. Reporting for Our News, I'm Georgie O'Bain.
Residents on Grand Bahama share mixed reactions to government's purchase of the international airport on that island. Julian Gray is on Grand Bahama and has their views.
It's a waste of time because as long as they don't make provision for the airlines to come in, you won't make any money at all out there.
The government last week bought the airport for $1 and will spend $1.5 million on repairs.
No deal at all. If anything, they should invest in and renovate that building there where when rain comes, people get somewhere to get in and out. No bathrooms. Look at the trailer down there. This is when the airport started out in the 50s on the island of Grand Bahama. This is not even good for Auckland's or Cricket Island.
Stephen Bain has been a cab driver since the 90s and says today is nothing like what he remembers years ago.
Those days, people used to ride. People was coming in the island. People was going back and forth, so you always had white going on. Today, it's nothing. Some days you come out young, don't even get the job.
Bain thinks the sale was a slap in the face from the previous owners who refused to fix the airport after Hurricane Dorian tore it apart. While Rashad Adderley says he thinks the purchase shows forward movement, he's more interested in seeing the new design of the airport.
We have one of the best runways in the world, as they spoke of. But we need to get a high-rise airport now. This, where we are at now, should be the parking.
I'm standing at the old domestic terminal, and if you look behind me, the sheer force of wind and rain from Dorian that tore through the building is still evident. Now, it's unclear at this point if the building will be torn down or if it will be renovated. Now, in the aftermath of Hurricane Dorian, workers said that it was extremely difficult and the pandemic made it no better. State Minister for Finance Kwesi Thompson told us that the government is rendering assistance to those who've been affected.
During this time, people like the taxi drivers, the straw vendors, those persons who relied on the tourism industry, that they had an assistance program that was in place.
I applied and they keep denying me. So I never get nothing.
Government said they gave you a little something, but how you give a fella $30 1 month they gave you $60. I wouldn't even give my children that.
Customs officers currently work from under this tent. However, Thompson said they are hoping to have a customs warehouse, offices for airport administrators, and the repairs to the air traffic control tower complete in the soonest possible time. Reporting from Grand Bahama for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
Thanks, Jillian. And Jillian will be on Grand Bahama all week long, bringing us news from the Second City. When Our News returns, helping mothers to make ends meet. But first, a Bahamian drafted to the NFL. The details when Our News returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Bahamian Mike Strawn drafted into the NFL over the weekend, and both DeAndre and Buddy picking up Sunday wins in the NBA. Marcellus Hall has more.
All right, thanks, Christina. Welcome to Our Sports on a Monday, everybody. I'm Marcellus. One of those famous rappers says, another one. Well, apparently we have another one. Another Bahamian athlete entering the ranks of the professionals. Mike Strawn becomes the latest Bahamian to now join the NFL.
You know, first of all, God is just good to me. I'm here with my family. They came all the way from the Bahamas for this moment, and we've been patient throughout the whole process. You know, with me getting that call, it was such a special moment for me, and, you know, it really touched me.
And just like that, the Bahamas has a new professional athlete, Grand Bahama native Mike Strawn, becoming the latest as he was selected by the Indianapolis Colts in the 7th round of this year's NFL Draft, which took place this past weekend in Cleveland. Strawn, who played college ball at Charleston, caught 127 passes for 2,332 yards and 27 touchdowns in his 3 seasons of college football. At 6'5", 226 pounds, and having run a 4.5 in the 40, Strawn is expected to add much-needed depth and size to the Colts wide receiving core. To the NBA, where DeAndre Ayton and the Suns, now with the best record in the Western Conference, taking on the OKC Thunder yesterday. Ayton would play 31 minutes. He better have a slow night, just 5 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. Good news is, though, it would come in a win as the Suns get the victory, 123-120. The next game on Tuesday versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And how about Buddy Hield and the Sacramento Kings? They played yesterday as well, taking on the Dallas Mavericks. Buddy with a stellar performance, lighting it up for 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block. Kings get the win, 111-99. They have now beaten the Mavs all 3 times this season with their next game on Tuesday as they go up against the OKC Thunder. And there it is, your check on sports for you this Monday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Christina.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
Our work week weather outlook is still ahead and helping mothers in need. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to our news. Hot and sunny conditions ahead. Greg is back in the weather studio with the outlook.
Thanks again, Christina, and a happy Monday evening, everybody. We've been stuck in that regime, that high-pressure system remaining in charge of our weather over the last couple of days, actually weeks. And that high is still out there in the open Atlantic, controlling our weather, continuing to produce some very warm, sunny, and at times breezy conditions across the islands. That will continue over the next couple of days as that high stays in charge. But we do expect the frontal boundary to approach our area by the end of the week, so we could see the increase of some showers by then. Boating forecast for all areas tonight through tomorrow. We have a caution flag posted for you guys, as well as be asking you beachgoers to exercise caution. East to southeast winds 15 to 20 knots. Seas running 4 to 6 feet over the ocean. Your low tide will be at 8:25 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Saturday. That's a look at our weather. Make it a safe night, everybody. Back to Christina.
Thanks, Greg. While many have begun shopping to purchase the best gifts as we get closer to Mother's Day, one organization is remembering those who are without. Tonight, our Kyle Joaquin looks at the work being done by the Salvation Army to help keep mothers and their families afloat.
For a second year, Mother's Day will not be the usual for many moms in the country. Many remain out of a job and struggling to make ends meet. It's where organizations like the Salvation Army step in.
We prepare lunch every day that is served through our window for persons that are in need. So Monday through Friday at 12 o'clock, there's a hot lunch provided to anyone that walks up that is in need for a hot lunch.
Melanie Coakley says over the past year, they've noticed more and more mothers coming in for help, whether that be looking for shelter or simply a hot meal for her family.
The numbers are higher in terms of women coming in asking for assistance, grandmothers coming and asking for assistance for their grandchildren, even neighbors who are women who know about elderly person coming and asking assistance for somebody they know that they have identified that is in need. Yes. These are some of the parcels persons will receive based on their circumstances. Of course, it contains your cereal, your staples, your cream, your oats, something for breakfast, something for lunch.
But it's the heart-wrenching stories that paints the picture of the struggle many of these mothers go through.
They say to you that they are homeless, that they're living in their car, that they have a friend who has a house, but unfortunately she doesn't have space. And so she allows her to park her car in the front of their building, and her children sleep in the car, but her friend or neighbor allows her to, take a bath, freshen up, and go back into the car. And so they're driving every day.
Today, the Salvation Army celebrates 90 years in the Bahamas. Its thrift shop also serving as a major help for those who need clothing, but can't afford to spend money like they used to.
Definitely mothers that come through here and purchasing items back to school when it's, uniform season. A lot of persons come in, teachers come in for crafts and supplies. You have
Coakley says aside from the usual bell ringing you see around Christmas time, the Salvation Army is always welcoming of donations of any kind, be it money, clothing, or food.
Persons can just drop off items. We had someone who just dropped off these items today that are going right into the program. No matter how big or small, it all helps.
You can donate?
Yeah, definitely so, and we don't say no.
Coakley says if you can, feel free to donate, as that can make life a bit easier for at least one mother. But for now, reporting from the Salvation Army for Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.